Imagine you are sitting at your computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you are staring at this super simple, like 3-sentence email you need to send to a colleague.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded simple emails.
Right. You write it, and then you delete it. You rewrite it like 10 different ways in your head.
Yeah.
Because you're worried to think you sound rude or, I don't know, maybe not smart enough.
Exactly.
And by the time you finally click send, your heart is literally racing. You are completely exhausted, and you haven't even started your actual work for the day.
It's exhausting.
It really is. So why do our brains turn these tiny everyday interactions into, massive, exhausting threats?
Well, I mean, it happens because your brain is desperately trying to protect you, but it's doing it in the most neurologically inefficient way possible.
Like, inefficient how?
Like, we spend so much of our lives stuck in our own heads, just running on autopilot, but it's this deeply stressed out, hyper-vigilant version of autopilot.
Which is exactly why we are jumping into this today. So welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. We are super excited to have you in our little study group today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Because we've gathered this massive stack of research and real-world advice to figure out how to stop just going through the motions.
Yeah, we want to break down the actual mechanics of getting out of your own head, like building discipline without, punishing yourself and actually enjoying connecting with other people.
Right. And no dense psychology jargon today. Just the simple, practical tools you can use literally right now. So let's start with that email exhaustion thing.
Yeah, let's look at the root of that, because a lot of people refer to overthinking as running on a hamster wheel.
Oh, I say that all the time.
Right, but a much more accurate way to look at it is to think of your brain like a smartphone.
Like a smartphone. Okay, tracking with you.
Yeah. When you're overthinking, you essentially have 20 heavy background apps running all at once. The screen might be off, You might just be sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing physically, but your battery is just completely draining.
That is a terrifyingly accurate comparison. Because you're sitting there burning all this cognitive energy playing the what-if game.
The what-if game is the worst.
Right. Like, what if I fail? What if they judge me? We are basically creating these horror movies in our minds about a future that hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, what is the biological payoff there? Why does the brain even do that to us?
So the payoff is the illusion of control. I mean, the human brain hates uncertainty more than almost anything else.
Wait, really? More than anything?
Pretty much. It would genuinely rather feel miserable and anxious than feel uncertain.
That is wild.
Right. So it runs those background apps just calculating every possible negative outcome because it falsely believes that worrying is, the same thing as preparation.
Oh, I do that. I think if I worry enough, I'll be ready.
We all do. But it doesn't actually prepare you. It just paralyzes you. And honestly, it chips away at your foundational self-worth.
Which is huge. The sources actually brought up something fascinating about self-worth.
Yeah, the external metrics trap.
Exactly. We usually think of self-worth as a report card from the world,
Yeah.
Like if my bank account hits a certain number, or if I get a fancy promotion, or if enough people like me, then I have worth.
Which is just a remarkably fragile system because you're outsourcing your value to external metrics that you literally cannot control.
Right. So what's the alternative?
Well, the research consistently shows that true self-worth is entirely internal. It's built quietly. And it starts with keeping really small promises to yourself.
Okay, walk me through the mechanics of that. Because how does, keeping a tiny promise actually change the deep-seated way I value myself?
So it comes down to the neurology of self-trust. If you tell yourself, I'm going to take a 5-minute walk today, and you actually do it, your brain registers that as a victory.
Just 5 minutes.
Yeah, you are literally rewiring your neural pathways to believe, hey, I am someone who follows through. I am reliable.
Right, but what if I don't do it?
Well, if you constantly break those promises, your brain stops believing your intentions. You lose trust in yourself, which feels directly like a loss of self-worth.
So building self-worth isn't about, standing in front of a mirror and shouting positive affirmations.
Not at all.
It's about getting undeniable physical proof that you show up for yourself.
Exactly.
But here's the challenge. How do we even get to the point of keeping a promise when our brain is spinning out of control? When those mental background apps are just draining our battery, how do we force quit them?
You have to physically interrupt the pattern. And there's this clinical tool called 5-4-3-2-1 grounding.
Okay, I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, so when you feel that anxiety spiking, you just pause. You name 5 things you can see in the room, 4 things you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste.
I gotta be honest, I've heard of this technique before, but it always sounded, I don't know, a bit too simple, like a party trick almost.
I get that, yeah.
Like, does looking at a lamp or like feeling the texture of my desk really stop a full-blown panic spiral?
It absolutely does, and the neurological mechanism behind it is actually super fascinating.
Okay, lay it on me.
When you overthink, you are trapped in the default mode network of your brain. That's the network responsible for mind wandering and, projecting into the future.
Right.
But by forcing your brain to process immediate sensory input like sight, touch, smell, you actively shift blood flow and electrical activity away from the worry center.
Wait, you actually shift the blood flow?
Yes. You shift it right into the sensory processing areas. You are quite literally hitting a physical override switch.
That makes complete sense. You're just pulling the plug on the background apps.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're getting out of our heads, and building true self-worth comes from keeping small promises to ourselves. But what happens when the promise we want to keep is like a massive new routine?
Oh, this is where people trip up.
Yeah, let's say I promise myself I will wake up at 5 a.m. to work out every single day. Why do we usually break those specific promises by like day 3 and then just end up feeling even worse?
We fail because we completely misunderstand the concept of discipline.
Misunderstand it how?
Well, society has taught us that discipline is a form of punishment. We think it means being harsh with ourselves, right? Relying on sheer willpower to just force an uncomfortable action through grit alone.
Oh, definitely. No pain, no gain, right?
Right, but the most sustainable form of discipline is actually just protection for your future self.
Protection. Wow, okay. That changes the entire feeling of the concept.
Mhm.
But explain the difference in practice.
Sure. When you use punishment, you are fighting your brain's natural evolutionary desire to conserve energy. And willpower is a finite resource, it depletes throughout the day.
By 8 p.m., I have 0 willpower left.
Exactly. Protection, on the other hand, means setting up a system where you don't need willpower at all. You leverage the habit loop.
Okay, cue, routine, reward, right?
Yes. The trigger, the action, and the payoff. And the absolute secret to making this loop stick without using any willpower is making the routine a micro-habit.
A micro-habit.
Yeah, you make the action so incredibly small that it's just impossible to fail.
Okay, so if I want to, let's say, read a book a week, saying I'm going to read a whole chapter every night is a trap.
A huge trap.
Because on a busy Tuesday, my willpower is gone. But if my micro-habit is I will read 1 single sentence, I literally have absolutely no excuse.
Exactly.
Right.
And executing that tiny action provides a small release of dopamine, which is your brain's learning chemical.
Oh, nice.
Over time, that dopamine wires your brain to actually crave the cue. Consistency is infinitely more powerful than intensity when you're talking about neuroplasticity.
I buy that. I really do.
Yeah.
But let's be real for a second. What if the bad habit is just too easy?
Give me an example.
Let's say it's 10:00 p.m. I am totally exhausted. I know I should read my 1 sentence, but my phone is just sitting right there on the nightstand.
Ah, the doom scroll.
Yes. The pull of that endless scroll is so strong. So how does a tiny micro-habit compete with a billion-dollar algorithm that's specifically designed to hijack my attention?
The truth. It cannot compete head-to-head.
Well, that's depressing.
No, wait. That's where environment design comes into play. Specifically, managing what behavioral scientists call friction.
Friction.
Friction is simply the amount of physical or mental effort required to execute an action. Your brain, by default, will always choose the path of least resistance to save calories.
The lazy choice.
Always the lazy choice. So you just use that biological laziness to your advantage.
Okay, how?
If you want a bad habit to stop, you add friction. You make it highly annoying to execute. But if you want a good habit to start, you remove friction entirely.
Give me a concrete example of how we add friction to that 10:00 p.m. doom scrolling habit.
So, if your phone is right in your hand, the friction is 0. You will inevitably scroll.
True.
But what if you establish a new rule? The moment you walk in the door from work, your phone goes on a charger in the kitchen.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. Now, when you're lying in bed at 10 p.m. and you feel that urge to check social media, you have to physically throw off the warm blankets, walk down a dark hallway, and stand in the cold kitchen.
Yeah, that is massive friction. I would honestly definitely just stay in bed.
Most people would. The laziness wins. And then on the flip side, you remove friction for the good habit.
Like putting the book near the bed.
Even better, in the morning, you place your book literally on top of your pillow.
Oh, that's smart.
When you go to bed, you have to pick the book up just to lie down. You have made reading the absolute path of least resistance. You aren't fighting a lack of willpower. You're letting your environment do all the heavy lifting.
I love that. So we stop relying on punishment, we build micro habits, and we tweak the friction in our physical spaces. But how does this scale up? Like, what if the goal isn't just reading a book before bed, but achieving something truly monumental?
Right, the big dreams.
Yeah. How do we apply these tools when we have huge life-changing dreams and we want to, tackle them all at once?
Okay, that level of ambition is fantastic. But trying to execute it all at once is the quickest path to burnout.
Why is that?
The most common trap people fall into is trying to chase 10 different dreams simultaneously. They want to, learn a new language, get a major promotion, run a marathon, and start a side business, all starting on the exact same Monday morning.
Oh, man. The classic New Year's resolution syndrome. We get this huge burst of motivation and decide to basically reinvent our entire personality overnight.
And your brain immediately panics because every single one of those goals requires intense cognitive load.
Right.
When you stack them all up, the brain becomes completely overwhelmed by the energy requirement. So what does it do? It seeks an immediate escape. It just shuts down.
And then you end up watching cat videos on your couch for 3 hours, right? Because saving money, running a marathon, and learning Spanish all at once was just too much for the system.
Exactly.
So what is the alternative here?
You must choose one main dream for the season of your life. Think of a season as maybe 3 to 6 months.
Okay, so you aren't throwing the other 9 dreams away.
Yeah.
You're just, putting them in the waiting room for a bit.
Yes. You're giving yourself the gift of focus. But once you select that one dream for the season, you have to fiercely protect it from dream thieves.
Dream thieves? Like what?
These are the modern distractions that fragment your attention. So, constant device notifications or that culturally ingrained desire to multitask.
But multitasking always feels so productive, though. It feels like I'm getting twice as much done.
It definitely feels productive, but neurologically, multitasking is a complete myth.
A myth? Really?
Yeah, the human brain literally cannot focus on 2 complex tasks at once. It just rapidly switches back and forth between them. And this switching actually drains your cognitive battery significantly faster, and it severely reduces the quality of your work. It's those background apps draining the battery again.
Okay, so how do we guard against those thieves if multitasking is totally off the table?
You establish a daily anchor. This is simply 10 or 15 protected minutes of focus dedicated entirely to your seasonal dream.
Okay.
No phone, no secondary tasks, just you and the goal.
I actually have to challenge you on that. Only 15 minutes for a massive life goal.
Yes, 15 minutes.
That sounds entirely too small, honestly. Like if my goal is to start a business or become fluent in a language, 15 minutes a day doesn't sound like it's going to move the needle at all.
It sounds small, I know, but it leverages the compound interest of consistency. Think about motivation for a second.
Okay.
Motivation is incredibly fickle. It shows up on day 1, buys all the expensive running gear with you, and then completely vanishes by day 3 when it's raining outside and you actually have to go run.
Right. Motivation is a total fair weather friend.
Exactly. But a daily anchor is tied to discipline. That protective kind we discussed earlier. You do your 15 minutes whether you feel inspired or not. The sources actually shared a mantra for this that is incredibly powerful.
Oh, what is it?
I'm coming slowly, but I'm coming.
Oh, wow. I'm coming slowly, but I'm coming. That is really good.
It is, right?
Yeah, it takes all the immense pressure off having to be this sudden overnight success. Showing up for 15 minutes every single day for a year builds an empire compared to working at a frantic 3-hour panic once a month.
The math of consistency always wins out over sporadic intensity. Always.
Okay, so to tackle the massive dreams, we pick one focus per season and we anchor it to our day with a small, fiercely protected block of time.
Spot on.
But let's look at a totally different type of goal. What if that dream requires us to interact with the world?
Okay, sure.
Like what if your goal involves networking, dating, or moving to a new city? How do we use these tools to connect with people when human interaction naturally feels so awkward for so many of us?
The dread of talking to strangers is almost universal. And it stems from this massive societal myth about small talk.
Was the myth?
We've been conditioned to believe that to be good at conversation, you need to be this brilliant performer. You need a flawless personality, perfect grammar, or a mental list of fascinating anecdotes ready to go at all times.
Right. We think we need to be a charismatic talk show host just to survive a local networking event.
But that is entirely false. People are not looking for performance, they are looking for warmth.
Just warmth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Human beings are biologically wired for connection, and warmth signals safety to our nervous system.
That sounds really wonderful in theory, but I mean, when a coworker asks, "How are you?" The instinct is to just say, "I'm fine."
Right?
It's a reflex. So why is it so incredibly hard to actually show that warmth?
Because saying I'm fine is a defense mechanism. It's a protective wall your brain throws up to save energy and guard your ego from potential rejection.
Ah, that makes sense.
But it's an absolute conversation killer.
Yeah.
If you want to connect, you have to lower that wall slightly. You don't need to overshare your deepest secrets, but you can share a tiny, honest emotion.
Okay, so like if the barista asks how my morning is going, instead of the robotic, "I'm fine," I could say, I woke up feeling a little chaotic this morning, but honestly, the smell of the coffee in here is instantly calming.
That is the perfect execution because it's real. By admitting a slight vulnerability like feeling chaotic, you give the other person's subconscious permission to be real too.
Oh, I see.
You create an immediate sense of shared humanity. You move way past a mere transaction.
It shifts the dynamic entirely.
Yeah.
But what about keeping the conversation going? Because the awkward silence is what really terrifies people.
Oh, absolutely.
You know that moment where you're standing next to someone in an elevator or a long line, and you both just stare at the floor like polite, decorative plants?
It's so uncomfortable. And the silence feels heavy because we feel this immense pressure to pull a fascinating topic right out of thin air. But the trick is to stop trying to generate topics internally and instead use your external environment.
Using the environment.
Yeah.
Like noticing the terribly long line itself.
Yes, exactly. Simply look up from your phone and make an observation about the shared space. Like, wow, the line is incredibly long today.
Right.
It's a super low pressure bid for connection. And when they agree, you follow up with an open question.
An open question.
Right, a question that starts with how, what, or why. That invites a narrative rather than a dead-end yes or no.
So something like, what is the best thing to order here that makes standing in this line worth it?
Bingo. And suddenly the friction is gone. You aren't strangers desperately searching for a topic. You are two people collaborating on a shared experience.
That is so much easier.
And from there, you listen closely to their answer and use their own words to link to the next topic. Like if they say the blueberry muffin is great after a long shift at the hospital, you link to the hospital. Oh, do you work in healthcare?
Wow. You are just building bridges out of the conversational materials they literally hand you.
Exactly.
It requires so much less energy than trying to be a performer. You know, when you step back and look at all these pieces together, it really is one cohesive system.
It absolutely is. It's about shifting from a passive reactive state where life just happens to you to an active state where you intentionally design your environment, your focus, and your interactions.
Okay, let's pull all these threads together for you guys listening. First, we have to recognize the massive energy drain of overthinking. We can shut down those mental background apps by grounding ourselves in physical reality with our senses.
Right.
And we build unshakable self-worth, not through external achievements, but by keeping quiet, tiny promises to ourselves.
Perfect. Second, we must rethink discipline. It is not punishment. It is protection for your future self.
Love that.
By using micro habits and adjusting the physical friction in our spaces, we make the right choices the laziest choices. And to avoid burnout, we focus on just one major dream per season, protecting it with a small, non-negotiable daily anchor of time.
And finally, when it comes to connecting with people, we've got to let go of the pressure to perform. We drop the "I'm fine" reflex, share a tiny piece of honest emotion, and use open questions about our shared physical environment to build warmth. Connection does not require perfection.
As we wrap up this study group, I actually want to leave you with one final, perhaps radical thought to take with you.
Ooh, a radical thought. Lay it on us.
So we talked extensively about how our daily habits, even the micro ones, slowly accumulate to build our identity over time. Every small action is a vote for the type of person you believe you are.
Right.
So what happens if you consciously decide to hijack that system?
Hijack it how?
What if you start practicing the daily habits of completely different, wildly confident version of yourself, even if you feel terrified and insecure on the inside? What if you act out the micro habits of the person you want to be for just 5 minutes a day?
Oh, wow.
Could you effectively trick your own brain into adopting a completely new identity simply by letting the physical actions lead the internal beliefs?
Letting the actions lead the beliefs. That is a wild thought. Like, how long before it's no longer an act? How long before you realize you are actually driving the ship?
It's powerful stuff.
It really is. All right, for everyone watching this deep dive on YouTube, we want you to take action right now. Go down to the comments section and tell us, what is one small step or micro habit you are going to take for your big dream today?
Yeah, let us know.
Are you putting your phone in the kitchen? Are you going to observe something in a slow line? Tell us in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep taking those tiny steps, and we will catch you in the next deep dive.